can't hear them.
We will.
Yeah, they can
So
hear
what's
us.
is that theirs up in the corner right there?
No, that's not.
We're live.
New York Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 102 provides that the New York State Gaming Commission shall consist of 7 members appointed by the governor by and with the advice and consent of the Senate. 4 members having been confirmed by the New York State Senate are necessary to afford the commission an ability to establish a quorum and undertake action. This presence of the meeting of the commission is now called to order. The secretary, will you please call the roll?
Brian O'Dwyer.
Here.
John Crotty.
Here.
Sylvia Hamer.
Here.
Martin Mack.
Here.
Peter Machete.
Here.
Marissa Shorenstein.
Here.
Jerry Skirnick.
Here. Ms. Secretary, please have the record reflect that a quorum of qualified members is present, thus enabling the transaction of business. Please note that Commissioner Machete is joining us from our Schenectady location. Bilateral visual and oral communications between Schenectady and New York have been established. Sir?
Minutes of the commission meeting conducted on February 3, 2026 have been provided to the members in advance. At this time, I'd like to ask the members, are there any edits, corrections, or amendments? Hearing none, please let the record reflect that the minutes were accepted as read. Next item, the minutes report of our executive director. Mr. Executive Director.
I'd like to provide a brief update regarding the process or progress of Resorts World Commercial Casino development and an update on the state budget process. Resorts World remains in pursuit of an aggressive opening schedule. As we previously discussed, their facility is expected to initially house approximately 245 tables and 2,800 slot machines over 3 floors. Overall, slot installation has been deliberate, as new slots require installation and older devices require software conversion after having been decommissioned from being video lottery based. With respect to table installation, the equipment will start being placed tomorrow. From a licensing perspective, Resorts has recently dedicated additional resources to navigate the licensing process, which should address any concerns with application completeness and speed of submission. Structurally, Resorts World has undertaken substantial new construction, including new and expanded cages, chip banks, and internal elevators. Senior commission staff have completed interviews for new on-site personnel necessary to undertake our regulatory obligations and are set to undertake substantial administrative work necessary before there can be any consideration of a certificate of operations. Special acknowledgement is directed to the gaming division's Tom Fataruso, Scott McClear, and William Chu, and Christy Phillips's licensing unit for their continuing efforts. On to the budget. In her executive budget, the governor included 4 legislative pieces relative to commission jurisdiction or operations. One makes numerous technical amendments to the parimutuel tax law, seeking to provide consistency with taxation changes from last year's adopted budget. Specifically, last year's changes were approved, quote, notwithstanding any inconsistent provisions of law, end quote. This provision seeks to strip out these inconsistencies and now archaic provisions. A second proposal would extend the authorized use of certain capital acquisition funds to be used for specific operating purposes by Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation for an additional year. The third proposal would permanently extend certain parimutuel tax and simulcasting provisions that have traditionally been extended annually for decades. And the final gubernatorial proposal sought to extend certain horse racing seasonal employee licensing requirements for 1 additional year in consideration of the final year of additional racing dates being shifted from Belmont Park to Saratoga Racecourse. This past week, both legislative houses released their own budget proposals, with 2 of the governor's 4 being accepted by both houses. The Senate added back Catskill Regional Off-Track Betting Corporation into the Capital Acquisitions Fund item, while the Assembly saw only a single-year extension and a 1-year change to the parimutuel tax and simulcasting extender. Two new legislative proposals were also advanced, with the Senate reintroducing last year's proposal for anonymity of certain lottery winners, while the Assembly added a new standard bred drug testing and anti-doping program. Back to you, sir.
Thank you. November is National Problem Gambling Awareness Month. New York State is rightfully proud of its fundraising through gambling activities. New York Lottery has contributed nearly $90 billion public education since its founding. And recently the commission, as you well know, facilitated $1.5 billion in casino licensing fees for the NTA infrastructure. However, with this great revenue comes great responsibility, as it is written. In Governor Hochul's 2026 State of the State, she detailed several concerns regarding underage and problem gambling and directed the commission to take appropriate actions, and we are doing so. First, she called on the commission to consider effective means necessary to ensure young people are not illegally downloading betting applications, creating accounts or using the accounts of others, and suggested the use of biometric approaches to safeguard against youth access. Second, the governor directed the commission to consider ways positively utilize new technology tools to assist with identifying and proactively helping those who may problem gambling assistance. Today, we start on that path to meet the governor's very appropriate and timely demands upon this commission. As we were discussing this today, when I generally refer to gambling, I mean sports racing. I don't mean to diminish the lottery versus casinos, Indian gaming, charitable gambling, or horse trading. But none of these have pervaded our consciousness like sports wagering, nor has anybody come on the scene with such an extent and such an ability to influence the sports wagering, which is relatively new in New York. I'm not a scientist, but I can identify three distinct populations that gamble. First, those who participate as a form of entertainment, who play reasonably for their lifestyle, economics, and social position. The vast majority of people fall within this category, and that's why we have legalized sports gambling in this state. The second population are those who have come or at risk of becoming problem gamblers. While the number remains relatively small, common sense indicates that the number is increasing, obviously because of the ability and the ease of gambling. The third consists of youth. While it's against law for youth to participate in any regulated gambling in New York, this is the population at greatest risk, and particularly young men who we all know have now embraced gambling as part of their sports ethos. Kids are impressionable, their risk management undertaking is, and we know, all of us, unfortunately, I know a number of young men who have gone into a great deal of difficulty because of using these methods of sports gambling. While parental and education are the best methods to keep kids from gambling, as with anything else, I believe there are additional ways to protect our youth. First of all, we should consider requiring age verification controls for any person ineligible to wager on its platform by virtue of age from downloading or installing such licensee's application. And then we require that to establish an account, an individual should provide biometric data, face recognition, fingerprints, to be used to ensure the later user of the account as the same individual who established the account. No fathers and giving the phones to their sons to bet with. We should further require that owners of already established accounts must provide biometric data within 60 days or have their license or have their account closed. I would want us to consider requiring a user of any wagering application to provide biometric identification before placing any wager in the application session before any wager is accepted. And while I'm talking about sports gambling in a sense, I know that at the moment we have licensed the courier service for the lotto. I would require biometric verification in any lotto bet as well. That's done over the phone. Employing sufficient geolocation controls to identify and deny access to the application when the access is attempted from a mobile device other than the device customarily used, or from locations which the customer does not customarily gain access to the application. Identifying and preventing account access at two or more locations that are at a distance where the account holder is likely to be in both locations. Enabling an individual over the age of 18 to prevent their social security number from being used to establish an account for a fixed period of time. Adding a provision that allows the commission to involuntarily ban any individual who's facilitated the access of gambling activity to an individual to wager by virtue of age. I think we should also propose involuntarily excluding all underage access enablers from all forms of legal activities in New York. There are other things to think about. One of which would be to for the legislature to amend the common criminal law to say that the allowing or facilitating a bet by an underage gambler would be considered endangering the welfare of a minor. That's for the legislature to take up. But these are things that we need to do. What we can do without the legislator is if you get caught allowing you cannot attend a horse race, attend a concert, eat at a restaurant or commercial casino, let alone gamble there. That's what we can do. The legislature can do so much more. In addition to these targeted changes, I'd like the commission to roll out for comment two larger scale comments. One, we should restrict licenses or franchises from using artificial intelligence to offer personalized promotion or suggest wagers or wager amounts to a customer. That's two. I've reviewed the proposed eventual response gambling rule proposed by New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement. And by the way, I commend them for the rule. The rule text proposes standards for sports wagering operators regarding responsible gaming and defines categories of at-risk patrons who may require intervention. I would like us to consider a similar rule for New York. I think it's important for us to understand that up until now, we have required the problem gambler to self-identify. We don't ask, but if someone is facilitating this and there are ways of them understanding what's a problem gambler, that should be on the operator as well. Certainly in the state of New York, the Dram Shop Act has certainly has provided responsibility for owners of licensed bars and restaurants to assure that people are not overindulging. Things of that sort need to be. We need to shift our emphasis from just the problem gambler to those who are providing the facilities for problem gambling. I think it's important that we just don't post these ideas online and hope someone responds. For this to be done right, we need to outreach. We are going to do outreach. We need to outreach to all that interested. Commissioner Mack suggested before that we go out to the universities and colleges in their mental health. Ask them for their help. That we go, certainly OASIS, New York Council on Problem Gambling. However, there are so many more groups that do outreach to the affected populations. Our religious groups and charities, PTAs, the schools, the youth groups, even the medical societies and the pediatricians and the pediatric psychiatrists. All of these are going to help us. Because I think it's the governor has given us this mandate, and it's for us to deliver on that mandate in a comprehensive and thoughtful way, so that when we, in the future, and hopefully in the near future, propose regulations, that those regulations will be the product of an enormous outreach, an enormous look by all segments of our society that are affected herein. And I think it's important that we all, that we hear from them all. And I'm asking our staff to do outreach, and obviously by means of this meeting, to solicit viewpoints from all, so that the staff can come up with for our proposal, for our consideration, as I said, comprehensive, thoughtful regulations that will address what all of us here understand has become a very serious issue. The question of particularly youth and probable gambling, in light of the overwhelming number of sports betting that has come up. So I'm directing the staff to create proposals consistent with what I've outlined and get it out for pre-proposal comment. So that by our next meeting, that we can formally propose new rules. We have no new or old business. That is our.
Could I make a comment on that?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think what this does, and what Governor Hochul is promoting, highlights the difference between state regulation of gambling and those markets, such as the prediction markets, having no regulations other than from the Commodity Exchange Commission. Because Commodity Exchange Commission and prediction markets are allowing gambling disguised as a financial investment, as a financial instrument. If you look at the promotion of prediction markets online, they make no mention of investing. They make no mention of derivatives or financial instruments. They sell it like they're selling soap. If you just go online anywhere and look what this advertising is, it makes prediction markets the coolest, most exciting activity in town. And what this law promotion, the law we're trying to change through this reg also highlights is the failure of the Commodity Exchange Commission to regulate prediction markets. One can gamble on a prediction market at the age 18. In New York State, to gamble, you must be 21. That shows the value of state regulation. The further you remove the regulation of gambling and wagering, however you disguise that word, is going to only hurt those that are gambling. We're trying to take steps here with problem gamblers, trying to take steps by limiting access by those underage, something that is not happening and will never happen at the federal level. So again, I think this is an opportunity to highlight and differentiate what state regulation of gambling means and what Commodity Exchange Commission gambling will result in.
Anybody else?
I agree with Marty. Actually, there was recently some controversy. I didn't follow too closely, but I did see a trial lawyer advertising for one of the groups not paying off their "Will the Iranian government fall?" Over the particulars of it in a lawsuit. But it's in exactly with what you're saying about some of that stuff. I've started talking to different state legislators who have reached out to me to talk about this in my capacity here. And we've started working on various bits of legislation to introduce that will make the losses personally liable of the individuals doing it, and will add another level of liability to promoters of these services that they're not operating with a license from us. To the extent that they hurt the state and hurt the revenues of the state, they become civilly liable for the diminution of revenue to the state, something that the regulatory framework, the equal playing field, gives to all. They're trying to usurp that, and there should be a civil penalty associated with that, and an ongoing one that would be significant. So I'd like to, hopefully we can get that introduced in the near term and talk about it more on the floor of legislature.
Yeah, in addition to that, we should note that the Gaming Commission has issued a cease and desist order to Kelsey several months ago, and that's in court. But it is still the position of this commission and the state of New York that these entities are violating New York State gambling laws. It's long tradition of state regulation of gambling. There is no preemption in the statute. There is no specific preemption. That's the issue before the courts. But this shows the value. This action being recommended today shows the value of state regulation of gambling.
To reflect the laws passed by the
And the
legislature.
laws passed by the legislature.
Yeah,
Let me amplify that and add more value.
correct.
In the meantime, of course, while that is it, it is my hope, of course, that if we do succeed, and I do feel we will, that those people who have gambled in the meantime,
Yeah.
and have lost, would be refunded their bets.
That's one of the things we've been talking about with the legislature, that they should be obligated to pay that back. They were here, they lost illegally. They should be compensated as such.
That's right. It happens. It's happening with the tariffs, and it should happen with these
Correct.
prediction market commodity exchange instruments, as they call them.
Yeah. And I think I know we will be very, very interested, and frankly, we'll be very. We will make sure that that thing happens. That is well considered, either in the legislature or by administrative action. I did want to ask Ann to talk about a couple of other things, and then we can adjourn. Up till now, we have discussed proposition betting and the concerns that this commission has had in terms of in proposition betting, the tendency or the possibility of having a fix put in, to use the vernacular, so that and many of us are concerned about that, considering the newspaper articles that have come out both in Major League Baseball and in National Basketball Association. In response to that, our staff identified over 100 leagues in which bets are made in the United States, in New York State. And some of those leagues have expressed concerns about proposition betting and there being people not being able to fix the outcome. We wrote to over 100 leagues. Unfortunately, only 3 responded. And of those 3, I must say that the one that NCAA and Major League Baseball were the 2 leagues that at least gave us substantive response. It appears to me and to the members of this commission that most of those leagues could care less about whether their leagues are being subjected to possibilities of manipulation. I find the response from the leagues underwhelming, to say the least, and disappointing, to say the most. We still have before us some discussions on proposition betting, among which is this commission can, if it so desires, ban proposition betting in its entirety. There may be a time, if we're getting no responses from the leagues and no concerns, they may not be concerned about the integrity of their processes, but we are concerned about the integrity of their processes. And if we need to ban proposition betting to assure that that is, in absence of people coming forward and saying these are the types of bets that we think are susceptible to manipulation or not, then I think we have to seriously consider. But in the meantime, I'm hoping we get a better response, more concern from the leagues than just the lip service that they've made. It's been, really, really disappointing in that light. I want to, congratulate New York Racing Association. I understand that our new Belmont is on track, on budget, and on schedule. We look forward to that. I think we will a new Belmont coming up in September. And of course, we're all looking to the stakes at Saratoga this year. And we'll be out. The commission will be out soon, probably in the next couple of weeks. And once again, reviewing the progress being made to open the new Belmont. Looking forward to that. Finally, I do want to talk a little bit about, because we have met as a commission with the 3 licensees of the new casinos and have discussed with them, as you well know, people well know, that we conditioned in the resolution that we made, conditioned the licensing of the 3 casinos on identifying and that they retain outside monitoring to assure compliance with their promises that they made during the process, and also that they continue to maintain their legality and good best practices. Resorts World, which, as we know, is seeking to be the first to be operating, has met with us, and we have met with their potential monitor. We are waiting for the final decision, final contract with that. But I want to say that the Resorts World has cooperated with us greatly, and we're looking forward to working with them and their monitor to assure that every single thing that they have promised is fulfilled, and that they continue to operate their facility in the highest standards that we require. The other 2 we have met with as well, and we have obviously there's not quite the alacrity needed, but we have required them within the next 2 weeks to identify and give us at least first draft of a contract with their outside monitoring firms, and we will hold it to those deadlines. The commission was very serious when we met and in December to give those licenses out, to make sure that everybody was in compliance, and that's not just something that will be done. It will be done for the entire 5 years that we require. We look forward to them again coming forth with that. Having said that, I have nothing further for the moment. But any other comment? On a personal note, a very happy St. Patrick's Day. Even you.
Thank
And
Especially.
especially you. That's